It's a great opportunity for us to hear from Zoe today, so will you join me in giving her a warm welcome?
Hello, good morning, everyone. How's everyone feeling? Good, very good. I have to say that I'm so excited to get to talk to all of you right now because this is by far my absolute favorite subject. I always consider myself sort of an entrepreneur at heart, but the thing that I just so happen to be good at is fashion design. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm 21 now, I'm a senior at Northwestern, and I'm currently the president and lead designer of Zoe Damacela Apparel. I am totally living my dream. I get to travel all over the world and do fashion shows in France and in all over Europe, all over South America, all over the United States. I get to work with supermodels. I get to design amazing collections. And this has always been my dream, is to be the president of my own company and really make an impact in the world. But it did not start out as glamorous as it seems now. Not at all. My mom was actually born in South America, and she immigrated into the United States, and she had me when she was really young. And because of all these different circumstances, she struggled a lot with finances. So much so that for most of my childhood, I was actually homeless. My mom and I, she was a single mother, we were in and out of homeless shelters. I remember waking up in crowded rooms full of all different types of strangers, kids, women, men, all over the place, eating group dinners at this homeless shelter. I remember, spending nights in our car, just constantly worrying about where we're going to get our next meal, how we're going to pay for the bills, if we're ever going to find a place to live. Eventually, we ended up working everything out, but it was really because of a series of life changes that my mom made and that I made along with her because of the experiences that I had. And that's why I'm so excited about entrepreneurship, because I think that the two are really tied. And so today, I'd love to talk to all of you about what a big impact that entrepreneurship can make, not only for yourself, but for your community and for the rest of the world. Of course, it's very exciting. We all have big dreams. Every single one of us in here has something that we are excited about. I'm certainly excited about fashion. I always wanted to be a fashion designer, now that I am. But I think that it's important as entrepreneurs that we think about expanding beyond that. It's amazing and beautiful to have these amazing dreams, but we need to think about it on a bigger scale. So after we sort of struggled with these finances, I remember being 8 years old, and I actually feel kind of bad about this story, but I remember being 8 years old and kind of pestering my mom to buy me a Razor scooter. All my friends had one of these scooters. They were, you know what I'm talking about. They were like all over the place. I was the only kid in my neighborhood who didn't have one, and I felt so awkward and so out of place because I didn't have this scooter. Little 8-year-old me, I'm not thinking about the strain that I'm putting on my mom, the pressure that I'm putting on her. She could barely afford to buy us dinner, let alone pay for this like $60 scooter that I really didn't need. And I was bothering her about it until finally, I think, honestly, to kind of get me to stop bothering her, she was like, okay, I have a deal for you. If you can raise half the money, if you can make half the money, then I'll put on the other half and we can get you a scooter. And she basically said this like, it's not gonna happen, so stop bothering me about it. Because she wanted me to realize how hard it is to make money from nothing. But instead of just sitting back and saying, well, that's never going to happen, I'm 8 years old and I live in a homeless shelter and there's no way that I can get half the money to pay for this expensive scooter, instead I went to my room, or my area, I guess, and I thought about how can I make a change in my life. At 8 years old, I was like, okay, I've got no skills. I can't get a job. I'm too young to get a job. I don't have anyone who I can ask for the money. What do I do? And so I came up with this ingenious plan, so I thought, to make greeting cards. And so I went into this little craft box that I had, and I had all these magazine cutouts and construction paper and glitter and things like that. And I went back into my room and I made these really ugly, disgusting greeting cards. But they were made by 8-year-old me, and so I guess they were kind of cute. And I sold them outside, literally on the street. And so I went outside and I sat on the street corner and I was just yelling out like, greeting cards for sale, I've got birthday cards, I've got thank you cards, I've got Christmas cards, everything. And within like 3 hours, I had made half the money to go get this scooter. And so I remember like I came back and I threw the money on the table and I was like, there you go, Mom, now we can go get this scooter. And since she promised it to me, she ended up getting me the other half of the money to go get this scooter, which I actually never ended up playing with, and I feel bad about that too. But I think the more important lesson that I learned from that experience was that it doesn't matter what circumstances are in your life. It doesn't even matter if you don't have any idea what you're doing whatsoever. You have the power to make a change in your life. If there's an opportunity, you have to recognize it. And my opportunity there was not the opportunity to get a scooter. It was the opportunity to recognize that I had the potential to become financially independent. And that was a lesson that I kept with me for the rest of my life. And so this is sort of the phase of my life where I'm developing myself. And I realized, okay, I got this scooter. Turns out it's not really as fun as I thought it was, but what is fun is making all this money. And so I continued, and instead of quitting there and saying, well, great, I got my scooter, done, I instead continued to make more cards. And then as I made more money, I reinvested that money back into my supplies, and I got better and better supplies. I started making better and better cards. I started making enough money that I could go to the movies, or I could, buy candy or whatever. I continued this for years, and I started to add on more and more things. And so it started with greeting cards, and then I was making like keychains, and then I was making necklaces, and then I was making, bracelets or whatever. And it just kept on adding more and more things as I was constantly improving my business idea. Because when I started, it wasn't because I had some genius idea. You don't have to have some amazing, innovative idea. You just have to have the drive to get where you imagine yourself that you can be. And so by the time I was 14, I was kind of comfortable with running very small businesses. I mean, at this point, I was just making things and selling them on my own. And so I saw the opportunity to take a class at my school. And this class was actually really hard. Shockingly, it was the fashion class at my school. And everyone said that it was the toughest class at my school. It was way harder than anything else because the teacher was very mean. She was literally like worse than the Devil Wears Prada. Like, she was intense. She was all about fashion. She took it very seriously. You had to come in before class, stay during your lunch period, and stay after class. She was very meticulous. She would take a magnifying glass and like check your work with a magnifying glass. But I was like, yeah, this sounds awesome because I really want to push myself to learn something new. And so I took this class, and it was the worst experience of my life. It was complete torture every single day. That teacher made me cry on several occasions because she was just like so meticulous. But after going through that class, within 1 year, I learned how to make a garment from start to finish. And then suddenly my eyes were opened. So now, instead of just making greeting cards and trying to compete with Hallmark, I suddenly had a way to express my creativity, a way to make money, and a way to start to think about what my future might be like, because I found something that I was good at and that I really enjoyed, just because I decided to push myself and take this really hard class. So that's how I got started. And as I went through high school, I continued to work on myself. And so I started the business, I started making clothes, I started doing fashion shows around Chicago. I got a lot of media attention because of these fashion shows. And then I started to think, you know what, this is great that I'm doing this for myself. Suddenly I've become financially stable. Now we have a place to live. Now I'm okay. I've been featured on all these like TV shows and done magazines and things like that. But what can I do to take this to the next level? And I wanted to expand in order to make a bigger impact for the rest of my community. Because even though I was now stable, my friends from my old neighborhood were still going through that same struggle. And so I had to figure out a way that I could help them. And so what I decided to do was sort of start this training program where I had kids from the neighborhood come over and I would teach them the skills that they needed in order to start businesses. And so whether it was wanting to become a fashion designer or wanting to sell skateboards or wanting to sell popsicles, going through the steps of the business plan and mentoring kids who were younger than me and not at the stage that I was, gave me even more of a sense of satisfaction than just changing my own life for the better. And so that continued, and then all through the end of high school, I started to get more and more attention. Tyra Banks called me on the phone one day, and she said, it's actually really funny. I thought that it was a joke. Like, I got this call on my cell phone, and the person on the phone was like, "Hi, this is Tyra Banks." And I laughed because I didn't think that Tyra Banks would be calling me on my cell phone when I was 17 years old. But it was her, and she invited me to New York, and I got to be on her show, and she became my mentor. And that opened my eyes even further. So first it was developing myself, then it was helping my community, and then I started to think about, okay, I need to make an even bigger impact. How can I impact the rest of the world? You know, I've got myself settled, I've been making a difference in my community, and now I want to expand it even more. And so from there, I sort of revamped my business plan in order to provide economic opportunities for craftsmen all over the world. And so I get textiles and fabric and notions and things like that from all these independent craftsmen all over the world, which is really awesome and really exciting for me because my family's from South America, so I get to sort of preserve our culture and the way that we make fabrics and textiles. And I also get to have this amazing community outreach and go travel the world and do all these really cool cultural things. And so I got to do amazing things, like I got to speak with President Obama, I got to work with President Clinton. When I was 19, I was featured on the cover of 17 magazine because of all the work that I've been doing, and now like suddenly my life felt good. I felt good about the place that I was at, but I still felt that I needed to push myself even more. And so now, as a senior, as a 21-year-old senior, that's the thing that I sort of try to keep in mind. It's understanding you, developing yourself, making sure that you have the skills to start your business or to accomplish any dream that you might have, reaching out to your local community, helping people who are your peers. It could be people who are older than you, it could be people who are younger than you, lending out that helping hand and always having an exchange of communication. Networking with people is extremely important, and then even going beyond that and trying to expand your reach to the rest of the world. And that's why entrepreneurship is so exciting, because we, as entrepreneurs, we have the ability to change things rather than saying, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to work for someone else, I'm going to work 9 to 5, I'm going to get paid the same amount every single day, and that's going to be my limit. Instead, we as entrepreneurs, we get to say, I have a great idea, this is going to make my life so much better, and I'm going to be able to create jobs and create opportunities for limitless other people. You have a limitless amount of possibilities as an entrepreneur. And so that's why I want you guys to totally pay attention to everything that's going on in this conference, listen to the tips that everyone has, because entrepreneurship starts with you, but it doesn't have to end with you. And that, I think, is the most important tip that I've learned, the most important lesson that I've learned, and hopefully something that you all will learn too. Well, thank you.
Time is it? Okay, 9:35? 9:40?